Thank you so much for attending this online rally today, and happy Earth Day. My name is Bailey Selforce, and I'm a part of Youth Climate Strike Los Angeles, and I'm also part of a social justice coalition called Movement 2020. There are so many amazing organizations in this coalition, and we are so grateful for the collaboration of this coalition in order to make this live stream possible. We have an incredible lineup for you guys today, so let's get started with our first speaker. Our first speaker is Tina Calderon of the Gabrielino Tongva Ventureño Chumash nations as a singer, songwriter, storyteller, and culture keeper, as well as mom, grandmother, and K-12 learning coach. She enjoys sharing her culture and family history in remembrance and honor of her ancestors, the original inhabitants of these sacred lands of Tovaangar.
Mi'iha nehinkam tokurao. Hello, my beautiful relatives. Netwanya ne Tina Calderon, komikrabet na ha tongve koi mitskanakan. My name is Tina Calderon. I am Gabrielino Tongva Ventureño Chumash from the ancestral village of Comigrangna. That is located in the Santa Monica Mountains, which is shared territory for the Chumash and the Tongva. Aweshkwanehai kwa avomane tehovetamet. I'm so happy that you're all able to join us here today. So I was asked to do a land acknowledgement, and I really want to thank Youth Climate Strike LA for asking me to do this and following protocol, which is what they're been taught to do, and that's really wonderful. So I'll start by honoring my ancestors and acknowledging them. Yarad komokre hanuk betam tongve koi ekwanarom tume komi ketaime paime. So what I'm doing is I'm acknowledging my ancestors, and I'm letting them know that we remember them. We remember them always, and we're remembering them today. And the caretakers from the original lands of this area, from the north, the east, the south, and the west. Eohink mo, honukvet mo, achumech mo, awishkoneha. And I'm letting the departed know, the ancient departed ones know that we love them and we appreciate them and we thank them for paving the way for us. I'm so grateful to be here with all of you, and because Youth Climate Strike LA was so generous with the time that they've allotted me to speak, I'm able to not just do a short land acknowledgement, but to actually give you a little bit of history of the Tongva people. Most of you probably reside on the lands of the Tongva, so I will outline some of our territories. We span from the San Fernando Valley, south, all the way down through the LA Basin and to Huntington Beach, and then heading northwest along, heading east along the Santa Ana River to Corona and Riverside, and then back northwest along the foothills to the valley. So it's a really, really big territory. And to put it in perspective, the neighboring tribes that we border are the Chumash, the Tatavian, the Katanamuk, the Serrano, the Cahuilla, and the Ahachiman. So yeah, like I said, we're both in Los Angeles County and a little bit of Orange County. And for millennia, we have been here. We believe that we came from the area of Pabungna, which is in Long Beach, currently on the campus of Cal State University, Long Beach. And then spread out from there. So it's believed that we were approximately 5,000 people, and that we spread out throughout this territory in over 100 villages. We also, in addition to having coastal lands, forest lands, and desert lands, we also had 4 of the Channel Islands, which are Carolina Island, San Clemente, San Nicolas, and Santa Barbara Island. So our people believed in honoring all. We didn't believe that we were separate from the nature or separate from anything. So we believed in honoring the lands, the waters, the plants, the animals, the elements, all the celestial beings. Everything was one. We were all related. And so in that way, we would treat everybody with love, respect, and do things in a way of reciprocity. So in other words, if we needed to harvest plant materials, whether it be for our clothing, our basket materials, our food, we would first give a gift. We would pray over the plant. We would offer this exchange and let the plant know what we were needing to take and why we were needing to take. And we only took what we needed. We never took more than we needed. And then we trimmed the plant in a way that would promote new growth. So in this way, as I said, we create that reciprocity back and forth. Likewise, if we were going to go out and hunt, our men were the hunters, and they would pray and they would dance and sing and focus for 4 days, and they would ask Creator to bring them enough meat to feed the village. And likewise, when they went out to hunt, and if they were to kill an animal, they always prayed over that animal, thanked them for giving their life. This was not taken lightly. And every single part of that animal would be used, every single part, from the tendons, the bones, the meat, the skins, everything. And we're just so grateful, especially our brother deer. That's a connection that we have helped to sustain each other for a very long time. I'll go forward to when the mission period came. So the Spanish priests came and wanted to create missions in these lands. And they, of course, thought that they had to save us because, you know, we couldn't survive without taking on their religion. So they started pulling in people from the local tribes of the area of where they were settling. And unfortunately, our people started dying in very fast numbers because they brought diseases that we did not have immunity to. So we started dying that way, as well as the fact that they were forbidding us to speak our language, to practice our culture, to sing our songs, to do our ceremonies, to dress the way we dress, and to eat the way we ate. Everything was forced. We were having to stay there, and it was kind of an enslavement type environment. And if anybody tried to leave, that was taken into there was repercussions, sometimes being shackled, beat, and sometimes even death. So what would happen when they didn't have enough labor, they would go out and they would expand into bigger territories and bring in from there. So that brings me to the history of my family. My family was taken into the San Gabriel mission, and here we were in the Santa Monica Mountains. But at the time that they came into our territory, they had enough adults, apparently, because they didn't take my 7-time back grandpa and grandma, Nanan Hunar and Kusil. They took their 7-year-old child, and we'll never know his given name because they took him into the mission and they baptized him under the name Prospero Dominguez. So that's how we know him. And they raised him to be a rancher, cowboy. And that's the way he was raised up. He never really got to know his parents. After the mission system crumbled, the one thing I could say was a blessing is that they did give Prospero those skills. So he was able to speak the language of the dominant culture at that time. And he was able to get a land grant. And that land grant is on the lands that the Huntington Library is currently standing on. So we kept that land for a long time in the family. He raised his children there, and it ended up going to his youngest child, who at the end lost it. But following my lineage, I come from his older daughter. She was a twin, and so I'm from Juana, one of the twins. And she married Eduardi, who now brings us to the city of Yangna, where there were seven founding families of the city of Los Angeles. So my family would be one of those founding families. And during that time, now the Spanish are under control. This becomes Mexico, excuse me. And we're supposed to get our lands back. All the mission lands are supposed to go back to us, but that never happened. So what ends up happening is we end up having to go work for the Mexican ranchers. And although the treatment was a little bit better than under the mission period, it was still kind of a slave mentality. In some cases, they actually paid their workers. In other cases, they did not. What they would do is have them work Monday through Friday. And then on Friday, instead of paying them the money that they would need to survive, they would give them alcohol. The natives would drink the alcohol, they would get arrested, and they would spend the weekend in jail. And then on Monday, the ranchers needed their workers back, so they'd come and they would get them out of jail. And it was cheaper for them to do this than to actually pay them wages. So this is the cycle that happened. Again, my family was very lucky because they escaped that. And they kind of went underground to survive because it was a very tough time. There was literally I would say a price on our heads and a lot of times. So they kind of went underground and they surfaced in Tovaangar territory along the 126 highway past Magic Mountain going towards Ventura. There's a lot of ranches on that corridor. And there was a very big ranch called Rancho Camulos, which is still there today, but it's now like a museum. So my family came there. They lived in Peru, and my great grandma became a domestic, and they really liked her a lot. And my great grandpa became a rancher for them. There's debates on whether this family, the Tongva family, was good or not, because they did displace the Tovaangar peoples. But from my family history, it looks like they actually did like my great grandma my great grandma very much. And so there's stories about how when she had her child, her family was still in Yangna in Los Angeles. So this is horse and buggy times. They would actually take her with them. It would be a couple of days journey to go back and forth to get their supplies. They would take her with them so that she could visit her family. And they also took her to La Placita, Alvera Street, that church that's there, to baptize her child. So that's a little bit about my family. Um, and as I had said, you know, we kind of lost our language. And originally, because we intermarried with all of these surrounding tribes, it was very common that you don't want to marry your own relatives, so you would marry 7 villages out to each direction. So many of us are mixed with other surrounding tribes, as I am Chumash as well. So it was very common for us to speak multiple languages. And then during the mission period, when we were forbidden to speak our language, it started to go away. And I say it went to sleep because in the 1800s, few people actually went around recording the language because they saw that it was dying out. And so they went around and they recorded it. And one of the ones that we can really rely on was a linguist called J.P. Harrington, where he literally recorded on wax cylinders some of our songs. And he also recorded writing of words. The other one was Seahart Miriam, who was a botanist, and he actually recorded a lot of words. So we are able to bring our language back to life. And that's why I was able to introduce myself to you in my language. And the reason we do this, because I know I'm speaking to people who don't speak that language, the reason why we first introduce ourselves in our own language is because our ancestors, we bring them with us. And we are letting them know what is happening first. We're speaking so that they can hear us and understand us. And then we're reaching out to the rest of the people. So I don't know how much time I have left, but let me go on to just say, so I was saying how sacred the lands were to us. This is all lands. However, there are certain places that have a very special energy, and these are what we would call our sacred sites. And there are at least 7 recorded sacred sites on our territories. And these are places where we would have ceremonies. And these are ceremonies that were recorded also, at least written. So we were able to continue those through the years as well. And these are ceremonies like winter and summer solstice, the equinox ceremonies. Um, the ones that have kind of gone to sleep, and I really hope that we're able to revive them in my lifetime, are the coming of age ceremonies and the mourning ceremony. I think they're very, very important. And so I have been to the place where we had our mourning ceremonies, and I have sung our crossing over song to those spirits that never got to have that song sung for them. So we just hold those things sacred. And unfortunately, all of those lands, they're on private lands now. See, we had been promised a reservation, and we signed a treaty, but it was never ratified, and it conveniently got lost. So to this day, we have no land base. But that treaty surfaced a couple of decades ago, and so it's proof that we had a treaty and it was signed. But being that it was never ratified, and they are no longer doing that today, we will never have lands. At least I don't think we will ever have lands in my lifetime. So when we want to access those sacred sites, we have to ask the people who now own it for permission. And we've been fortunate to have relations with some of the entities so that we can do these ceremonies. It's very important, I think, because we're praying for the waters, we're praying for the lands, we're praying for us, humans, the animals, for everything. We're praying for everything to go back to its way. And so I'm very, very proud to be part of supporting the youth climate groups, because you're doing something really, really important. And although striking is a big thing, I mean, because you're getting the word out there, you're making your voice heard, you're informing people who may not know about the things that are going on. I also would like to encourage you to take another step and also do things that help the earth as well. I'm part of a soil regenerative collective. I do a whole lot to try to actually stop the climate crisis. And so I encourage you all to do that. Um, there's so much going on that you can learn about how to bring back the nutrients to the ground so that more grows, and that to cool down the soil and keep things moist underneath actually cools down the climate and slows down that problem. So again, I really encourage you guys to look into that. The Soil Regenerative Collective that I'm part of will be working on my backyard, because we've been starting with individuals' homes first, and then we're trying to branch out and to maybe do things along the LA River and other land holdings that don't belong to us. But they'll be working on my yard. While we were scheduled for mid-May, and because of the pandemic, we may have to change that out. But I would encourage any of you who are interested in learning to get in touch with me, and I would love to have you come to my home and help out and to learn. So I think I'm going to just offer a ancestor song at this time, and then I will go ahead and turn it over. So I will do this one. Way-ah, hey-ya, way-ah, hey-ya, way-ah, hey-ya, hey-yo. Way-ah, hey-ya, way-ah, hey-ya, way-ah, hey-ya, hey-yo. Yarar como krehnuk betam, tu me komi ketame paime. Yarar como krehnuk betam, tu me komi ketame paime. Way-ah, hey-ya, way-ah, hey-ya, way-ah, hey-ya, hey-yo. Way-ah, hey-ya, way-ah, hey-ya, way-ah, hey-ya, hey-yo. Yarar como krehnuk betam, tu me komi ketame paime. Yarar como krehnuk betam, tu me komi ketame paime. Thank you so much for having me, and I wish you all a wonderful day. Stay well.
Thank you so much, Tina. Anahuaco is an Indigenous K-12 community-based charter school. Anahuaco is dedicated to student academic excellence and native wisdom and appreciation of the cultural and Indigenous heritage of Indigenous peoples and the promotion of positive social awareness. Anahuaco is led by Minnie Ferguson and Marcos Aguilar. Anahuaco is widely recognized as the only Indigenous peoples school and first authorized international baccalaureate world school in the city of Los Angeles.
We're now going to honor the section. We honor the East. We honor the West. We honor the North. And we honor the South. Campa Monesnemia y Chicawaris Intafado Posti. Campa Monesnemia y Chicawaris Intafado Posti. Campa Monesnemia y Chicawaris Intafado Chichitwi. Campa Monesnemia y Chicawaris Intafado Ista. Nochi tapadme Juan Ejecacinte.
Kimberly.
Lila, go on your English set.
Yeah. Sorry, my connection error. Okay. So, hoy con el permiso de los pueblos indígenas de estas tierras, Tongva, Tataviam y Chumash, vamos a hablar con todos en nombre de nuestra comunidad escolar, con nuestras familias y nuestra generación como jóvenes indígenas. Nosotros, como Anahuacalmecac, es una comunidad tatecutli. Nos unimos con hermanos y hermanas de todo el mundo, como jóvenes indígenas, para hacer un llamado a nuestros líderes estatales y a los tomadores de decisiones mundiales a la defensa de nuestro futuro. Como jóvenes indígenas, nuevamente recordamos nuestras historias y los que hemos aprendido de nuestros antepasados, como guardianes de la tierra y protectores del agua, del fuego y del aire. Nuestros mayores han vivido por épocas de gran catástrofe, cuando incluso nuestros antepasados indígenas olvidaron las formas de respeto, humildad y reciprocidad con todo lo que nos da vida. Fueron los jóvenes quienes ayudaron a sus mayores a reconocer sus errores, recordar sus obligaciones y juntos restablecer el equilibrio natural de nuestro mundo. ¿Dónde han quedado todas estas enseñanzas y aprendizajes? ¿Se volverá a repetir la época donde los jóvenes fueron quienes ayudaron a sus mayores a recordar sus obligaciones? Una vez más, somos nosotros los que pedimos retomar y restablecer el equilibrio natural de este mundo. Nos hemos preguntado si el festejar un aniversario más de la Madre Tierra es para tomar decisiones o nada más una celebración. 50 años celebrando el Día de la Tierra. ¿Y qué hemos logrado? ¿Hasta cuándo podemos permitir una vida mejor, saludable y balanceada? ¿Hasta cuándo va a durar el egocentrismo personal de los grandes empresarios y de los que tienen el poder? Si hacemos estas preguntas, es porque la tierra brinda vida para todo ser y es por eso que debemos cuidarla y respetarla. ¿Qué es lo que no proviene de la madre tierra? Es por eso que se llama madre tierra. Sin ella no hubiera vida. A través de ella se produce la alimentación, el mismo cuidado de la tierra a través del agua, aire y fuego. Estamos otra vez en una época de gran catástrofe debido a la lucha en contra de una pandemia global, el coronavirus. El cambio climático causado por la falta de conciencia en cada integrante de las masas del capitalismo neoliberal y la explotación por las corporaciones internacionales de recursos naturales. Y toda nuestra madre tierra, Tonantzin, sufre. Es por eso que hacemos el llamado a los que corresponden determinar el fin de la explotación de la madre tierra. Alto a las industrias petroleras, déjenlo en la madre tierra. Hacemos un llamado al alcalde Garcetti y al gobernador Newsom para exigir que se detengan los nuevos proyectos combustibles fósiles y que se ponga el fin a la producción de existencia de combustibles fósiles. No más derramamiento de la sangre de nuestra madre tierra Tonantzin. Hacemos un llamado al gobernador Newsom para que se reúna con jóvenes y ancianos indígenas de todo el estado, incluyendo a nuestra comunidad escolar indígena en Anahuacalmeca, para escuchar nuestras propuestas originales y cambiar el curso de la humanidad lejos de la autodestrucción y hacia la nueva renovación mundial. Queremos agradecer a los organizadores Movement LA y ambientalistas de este gran festejo de la Madre Tierra por seguir organizando, proponiendo soluciones hacia los llamados a la reflexión al respeto de la Madre Tierra y hacia los directores por permitirnos ser participantes y también a los guardianes de todo el mundo por llevar la lucha y protección de la tierra. Gracias.
Today, with the permission of Indigenous peoples of these lands, the Tongva Ventureño Chumash, we speak with all of you on behalf of our school, our community, our families, and our generation as Indigenous youth. We, as Anahuacalmecac, a community of Tlaltecutli, unites today with our brothers and sisters from around the world as Indigenous youth living in a world center of climate ecocide. We call on our state leaders and global decision makers to defend our future. As Indigenous youth, we once again recall our histories and what we've learned from our ancestors as Earth's guardians and protectors of water, fire, and air. Our elders had lived through times of great catastrophe, even when our Indigenous ancestors forgot how to demonstrate respect, humility, and reciprocity to everything and being that gives us life. It was youth who helped their elders recognize their mistakes and to remind them of their obligations together, and together restore the natural balance of our world. Where have these stories and teachings gone? Will a time when youth had to remind their elders of their obligations repeat again? Once again, it is us who are asking to resume and restore the natural balance of the world. We've asked ourselves if celebrating another year of Earth Day is to make decisions or to simply celebrate. 50 years celebrating Earth Day, and what do we have to show for it? How long until we can allow ourselves a better, healthier, and balanced life? How long will the personal egocentrism of businessmen and those of power last? We pose these questions to you because Earth gives life to all beings, and that is why we must take care of her and respect her. What does not come from the earth? That's why we call her Mother Earth. Without her, there is no life. It is through her that nourishment is produced. The same care of Earth through water, air, and fire. We are once again in a time of great catastrophe due to a global pandemic, COVID-19, climate change caused by the lack of consciousness in each member of the masses of neoliberal capitalism, and the exploitation by international corporations of natural resources, and all of our Mother Earth Tonantzin suffers. Thus we call on those who it corresponds to determine the end of the exploitation of Mother Earth. Stop the oil industries, leave it in the earth. We call upon Mayor Garcetti and Governor Newsom to demand a stop to new fossil fuel projects and existing fossil fuel productions. No more shedding the blood of our Mother Earth. We call upon Governor Newsom again to meet with Indigenous youth and elders from across the state, including our Indigenous school community in Anahuacalmeca, to hear our original proposals and change the course of humanity away from self-destruction and towards global renewal. We want to thank the Movement LA organizers and environmentalists of this great celebration of Mother Earth for continuing to organize proposing solutions, calling for reflection on Mother Earth, and the directors for allowing us to be participants, and also all of the Earth Guardians of the world for leading the fight in protecting the land.
Lis kasoka machilia akin kinehnemia inteki movement LA iwan Mayor Garcetti akin kuika yolisli totlanansin akin testemoa kuasle yes nawalisle nemilisle tlanemilisle tlakaitalisle totlanansin iwan tlayekantin treskawaliwa titekichihuasque tekichihuasque noihke akin tilawia nochi semanawak kitlahpia totlanansin. Tlasokamate.
Rika huevo hewen sin yei sonte conte consitinti nika nimitz tatafe nika nimitz onotza nita tikpak masewal ishpokatse nimista sokamachiria tota nansi. We're now gonna honor the sixth direction again. Ashkan tineki mate chikaw no puedo. Mate chikawidika titatoske tomase wadikniwan tongwa tatavio Chumash. If you would all now follow us. I mean, you don't have to. We honor Tiktachiaske Kisayan Tonali. We honor the west where the sun rises. Tiktachiaske Kalakian Tonali. We honor the we honor the west where the place of the women and where the sun sets. Tiktachiaske Witzlampa. We honor the north, the place of the children. Tiktachiaske Miktampa. We honor the south, the place of the departed. Campa Monehnemithia Ichikawadis Intrapalo Kosti. Campa Monehnemithia Ichikawadis Intrapalo Chichitik. Campa Monehnemithia Ichikawadis Intrapalo Kapostik. Campa Monehnemithia Ichikawadis Intrapalo Istak. Tiktachiaske Iluikampa Wantatik Pakampa. We honor the cosmos and the sky and our Mother Earth. Nochita Padme Iwanehekatsinte Ikatlame Tartik Pakampa Nimisa Sokamachiria Tota Nansin Kwikwitik. Ometa. We're done. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. Our next speaker is Eric Etzley. Is a community activist from Southeast Los Angeles, best known for founding Alivo Open Mic, a space that comes alive in the form of community cultural center every fourth Friday of the month from his parents' garage. Eric takes pride in speaking to the emotional truths of his gente, through the art of poetry. He recently published his first book titled From My Blood. Please welcome Eric.
Hi, thank you for having me. It is an honor to be a part of this event, this rally, this song, this cry. I want to say thank you to Amanda for bringing me on. If it wasn't for you, Amanda, I wouldn't have known about this and I wouldn't be here right now. It is an honor to be in all of your graces. I am Eric Etzley from the region of Southeast Los Angeles, where the people in my community suffer from a lot of environmental racism, environmental injustice. A few blocks away from where I live, we have factories. One notoriously known as Exide that was taken down years ago, but it's still infesting the communities of Southeast Los Angeles. There are children with lead in their mouths. There are pregnant women that have lead in their blood. So we are victims of this injustice happening in our community. And I think using our voices and our power and our agency is so important, because once Mother Earth is hurting, people also hurt, and people end up hurting each other and themselves. It's a connection of pain. So I just want to say thank you to the organizers for having this. I recently published my first book, From My Blood, and I would love to share one poem with you that I wrote about kind of just, water, rain, what happens when we affect the earth so much that Mother Earth isn't giving us the rain that we need. So this is a poem titled No More Rain. No more rain, just a Californian desert of pain. Only the sun, only slow and heavy heat waves. No more rain. Just long yellow fields smeared like yolk along the 5. Dead crops with signs that say, save water, save jobs. But farmers already stuffed their lives into bags and ran from the rays. Too many sunsets without tears. Goodbye, Yosemite. Bare skulls puncture the earth. No more squirrels to bury acorns. Yellow weeds sting like knives. Clear, dry skies laugh from up high. Grapes dry like lizard skin. No more wine and dine. No more slip and slide. No more super soakers, water balloons, or buckets of ice to the dome. Just thirsty ducks crawling on stones. Just frail alley cats fading on asphalt floors. Just brittle cows melting along highway roads. No more rain. Just $12 avocados, $6 apples, $10 cheeseburgers from McDonald's. No more rain. Just a gun pointed at a head for Aquafina water bottles. Just baseball bats cracking glass to steal some vegetables. Just knees on the floor praying for stormy skies. Just knees. Just vehicles buried in dirt. Just water fountains covered in cobwebs. No more rain. Just fists to the face. Neighbor against neighbor, a firestorm of desperation and rage. No more rain. Just a code of ethics that dried a long time ago when the redwoods were stripped of all their clothes. Just empty nests because the birds all knew to fly away. No more rain. No more rain. Just regret for the changes we failed to make. Thank you. You can find my book on Instagram at Eric Etzley. I would love to chat and talk and invite you to my space. I have a Alivio open mic from a garage in my parents' home. It's completely grassroots and it's by the people, for the people. I do it every 4th Friday of the month. Now that we're in quarantine, I do it on Instagram Live at Alivio Open Mic. My name is Eric Etzley. Thank you, Kevin, and thank you, Amanda, for having me.
Thank you so much, Eric. Our next speaker is Josiah Edwards. Josiah Edwards is a college sophomore from Carson. After living under the constant threat of oil drilling for his entire life, he joined the Sunrise Movement to help create change.
All right, hi everybody. As you know, my name is Josiah. And having grown up in the South Bay of Los Angeles, I know that oil production is intertwined with everyday life. Oil facilities are scattered throughout the region, from large storage campuses and refinery complexes to the numerous small oil wells enmeshed in the residential neighborhood of Wilmington. I lived in Carson, so the massive Tesoro Marathon refinery, as well as the Shell Oil Complex, were landmarks of my childhood. One had a giant American flag hanging from it, and the other was down the street from my middle school. I always gawked at the enormity of the former. It was like a city within a city. And on the other hand, the designers of the latter tried to blend the complex in with the surrounding area using trees and fencing. It's still noticeable because you can't miss something like that, but it's far safer when compared to the dangers experienced by many of those who quite literally have oil wells in their backyard with little to no protection whatsoever. When I was originally asked to speak, I didn't think that my story was significant enough. Now, it's not that I thought that I or my story didn't matter. I just knew so many other folks who have suffered far more at the hands of greedy oil corporations and fossil fuel production than I did. I was lucky. I, along with my brother, had childhood asthma. If we lived any closer to something as dangerous as uncapped oil wells, I don't know how my family would have coped. That is in part the reason why I joined Sunrise Los Angeles, the fight against environmental injustice and the fight for a Green New Deal. And that is why the California Youth versus Big Oil campaign is so important to me. It's why I see it as imperative to fight for the end of new fossil fuel projects in our state and the end of existing fossil fuel production. It's why we need the state legislature to pass and Governor Newsom to sign Assembly Bill 345. We demand this 2,500 safety buffer around oil and gas extraction because every person deserves the right to live free from the fear of health risks induced by human recklessness and corporate greed. My story is shorter than most. My family didn't and doesn't have money. Our house is falling apart from the inside out. I can't emphasize enough the role that Providence played in our safety. That should not and cannot be the reality we live in. That is why everybody here is here today, to stand in solidarity with those of us on the front lines who suffer most of all. It is the sinister nature of fossil fuel corporations to make us believe that our stories are any less relevant because the environmental harms are indirect. The existence of any of these facilities is one too many, and it is incumbent on each and every one of us to fight until they have been cast out of our state, our nation, and the world. We don't have time to sit idly by and watch the world burn, and this current crisis has made it abundantly clear. We're not going to let our world continue to burn, and come hell or high water, we will force the politicians to exercise their vested authority. There is no other option. Thank you.
Our next speaker is Corey Malia. Corey Malia is the co-coordinator of Extinction Rebellion, also part of Youth Climate Strike Los Angeles. Youth Climate Strike Los Angeles, and the lead of Youth Climate Strike Santa Monica. She is an activist, an artist, and singer-songwriter who uses art to spread awareness about the climate emergency, and also one of my closest friends. So please welcome Corey.
Thank you so much, Kevin. This song I wrote about climate change and everyone who's impacted and on the front lines of the climate emergency. It's called Danger Skiing. We can't wait too long. We can't wait till it's gone. Standing at the precipice, running out of time. This is a dangerous game to live by. I wanna fly away, but there is nowhere to go. Nowhere is safe. I just wanna make it home. I can't see the pumpkins turn. I can't see the forest burn. This is the end game. This is the last move before the flames. I wanna fly away, but there is nowhere to go. Nowhere is safe. I just wanna make it home. I wanna fly away, but there is nowhere to go. Nowhere is safe. I just wanna make it home. Make it home. Thank you and happy Earth Day.
Thank you so much, Corey. That was beautiful. Next, we have Mia Smith. Mia Smith is a fierce advocate for clean water and air and serves on Los Angeles Mayor Eric Garcetti's Youth Council for Climate Action. Nia believes that advocacy is critical because today's youth will inherit whatever future current leaders will leave for them. She believes that in order to impact today's world, students need to be involved today.
Good afternoon, and thank you for having me. My name is Nia Smith, and I am proudly a climate activist. However, I only recently started advocating for the planet, driven by a desire to solve a problem I saw that kept getting worse. I lived much of my early life oblivious to our effect on the planet. That's why I strike now, because I can't remain ignorant or silent any longer, because things aren't getting better, because people are getting hurt and being ignored, because this still isn't a priority for so many people who can impart change. We know now more than ever the importance of climate activism in a world that feels like it's crumbling. The thought of things getting worse feels terrifying. Isolation has taken us away from our beloved parks and from one another. My baby sapling that I planted on my college campus, which I used to visit daily, is now 20 miles away from me. And I won't lie, I miss it. I used to take such joy in watching it grow every day. But today, I celebrate its existence. I take a deep breath of fresh air cleaned by the recent rain and the reduction of pollution and car travel. I'm grateful to be alive and to see people, even if I can't be with you all physically. Relish in the fact that our isolation has allowed plants and animals to thrive again. The planet has been given a reset. What better gift can we ask for on this anniversary? We can take our social isolation to figure out how to change systems that clearly aren't working. We can work towards creating a world that can never be crippled by a pandemic again, and a world that doesn't need to fight to survive, that doesn't need fighters. But for now we fight, and we strike, because this cannot happen again. We have seen faulty systems crumble and fracture, and we are now pushed to correct them. We cannot exist in a world that we cannot live in, and if we do not make changes now, things will only get worse. The importance of advocacy and striking at this time has only strengthened. We need to call on all of our legislators, specifically Mayor Garcetti and Governor Newsom, for Green New Deal, where we transition to clean energy by 2030, no later. We must push to move away from fossil fuels immediately. We need to be aggressive in this battle for survival. Yet it is important to take a moment of celebration. We are fighting for the earth and for our survival for a reason. On this, the 50th anniversary of Earth Day, we take a moment to pause and reflect on climate activists who have come before us. I ask you during this day of celebration that we not only appreciate Mother Earth in all her glory from afar, but we think about how to appreciate her every day. And in this virtual setting, let's get creative. Meditate outside if you can, wearing a mask, of course. Plant some basic vegetables. I started growing onions. Start a composting bin. Try to reduce your waste. Turn off your lights tonight and watch the stars. There will be a meteor shower. And do not forget, we are planet Earth and we must celebrate today. We continue the battle tomorrow. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Nia. Tandiwe Abdullah is a 16-year-old organizer with Black Lives Matter. She helped to conceptualize and launch the Black Lives Matter in Schools campaign, adopted by the National Education Association. Her work is to create safe spaces for Black youth to organize around racism and anti-Blackness, particularly in schools.
Hi, you guys. I'm Tandiwe. Thank you for having me here. It's really an honor. I'm kind of just going to be sharing my story and how I came to really fully accept environmental racism as a concept, because I have to admit it took me a really long time to even understand at all. So the first person who introduced this idea to me was Esther Hersey, and she talks about it a lot. She's a co-founder of Climate Strike, and I honestly thought it was just such BS. And this is coming from someone, I started organizing with Black Lives Matter when I was 10 years old. And I think as organizers, we have the tendency sometimes to really feel like we know everything. We feel like, especially when it's your field, I was like, the environment can't be anti-Black. Like, what is that? You know, I do this. I know if something's anti-Black. And I was feeling really defensive. And it was really, I think, coming from a place of insecurity, which I think we all have to work on, is like expanding and being in a state of constant growth, learning from each other. And so as I really started to marinate in this idea and kind of sit with this concept, I began to realize just how conditioned I was, I think, as a Black person who grew up, you know, in the Crenshaw district, to not notice just how much environmental racism affects me. And, you know, with my story, I started playing soccer when I was also 10, I think. And I played for the AYSO South LA region 1031. And for anyone who knows where Kenneth Hahn soccer field is, it's on this really beautiful hill, kind of in this weird, like, middle of nowhere place. You have to turn down a weird alley. And it's on this really beautiful hill, and it looks over the entire city. And as long as I like look back, I always think that sitting on this hill after my practices, because they usually lasted until dark, I always remember it being so beautiful. I would sit on the grass and just watch the sun go down over the city, and I would think, wow, you know, this is so beautiful. I'm so grateful to be in this space. I'm so grateful to have this like big old piece of land and grass and be able to watch the sun go down, be able to watch the light polluted sky turn pink and orange and all these other unnatural colors. But it was beautiful, and I really appreciated it, and I really saw how it really connected me, I feel like, to the earth. And then as I started thinking more about the environmental racism aspect, I began to realize, oh shoot, there's a whole big oil rig surrounding this hill. And now that I think about it, people would lose their soccer balls, their cleats, their shin guards, all in this big, it's like a moat almost of land, dry land, where people would lose all their soccer gear. And we would always run in, buy all these oil rigs, and have to take our balls and our shin guards out. But I think the most shocking thing is that no one really sits with the fact that little 4-year-old kids are running into, from their soccer field through another field of oil rigs to get their balls. And it always really seemed so beautiful to me that I never really got to think about, like, this is horrifying. This is ridiculous. We should not have children playing soccer next to oil rigs, right? How can you drill on this land that is so beautiful and so sacred? And I don't know, it really kind of corrupted my memory of it. And we also had this earthquake last night. I don't know if anyone felt it, but we had this earthquake, and I've just been thinking, all this fracking and all of this, marring of the land, it's really we're really beginning to see the drastic effects that it's having on our communities. And so I'm very thankful to have my eyes opened, and I'm really thankful to be in this fight now fully. And I appreciate the fact that the folks in this movement are so open to educating us constantly. And I think we have to really be aware of just how much Black and Indigenous folks, our struggle is intersected. And I think one of the elders from American Indian movement, she said it at one of our rallies that, the land was stolen from the Indigenous and Black people were stolen from our land. And so it's this really warped and twisted history and connection, but we have to be in this fight together. And we really have to hold hands in this, because we've been kind of conditioned to ignore just how much, environmental racism is a Black issue. So I've been kind of ranting, but all I'm going to say is thank you for sharing this space, and thank you for allowing us to hold hands in this fight together. And let's decolonize this space. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Tandiwe, for your speech. Our next guest speaker is going to be Skylar Funk, who is a LA-based songwriter, environmental activist, and makes a good also a hot sauce maker. His band, Trapdoor Social, and their solar-powered festival and stage startup, Sunsock, has been a platform for promoting sustainability since 2012. Please welcome Skylar.
Thank you very much. How y'all doing? ¿Cómo están mis hermanas y hermanos? Like Kevin said, I'm Skylar. My band is Trapdoor Social, and my solar-powered festival and staging ally to the movement is Sunstock. It's been an honor to be a part of it, and great to work with you. So thanks for having me today. I'm gonna sing a song that I wrote for you, the environmental movement. It's inspired by coming up in LA in this space, struggling, feeling the frustration, feeling the inspiration, working together, the energy, feeling like an underdog, knowing that our day will come and that our fight is not for nothing, and that we're justified in this fight. This is called The Move. This song says you too can be part of the move, and it's talking about this movement. So here you go. We come from under thunder, yeah, we're coming. Please don't be alarmed if take over. We don't need your money to get off of it. We'll just keep on running till we're all the way. This is what love can do. I give myself up until the day we lose. I give myself up. This is what love can do. I live for something more than me. You can't be paradamu. 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 You can't paradamu. See how the tide's turning. Do you wonder what's coming? These hearts have been burning. We want it, and we believe in justice. We belong to it. We can be the problem, or we can solve it. Yeah. This is what love can do. I give myself up until the day we lose. I give myself up. This is what love can do. I live for something more than me. Yeah. You can't be paradamu. 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 Like thunder, yeah, we're coming. We come from under like thunder, yeah, we're coming. We come from under like thunder, yeah, we're coming. We come from under like thunder. Thank you. Happy Earth Day. Fight on, y'all.
Thank you so much, Tyler. That was amazing. Our next speaker is Jocelyn Garcia. Jocelyn Garcia is a daughter of Mexican Guatemalan immigrants, a sister to two younger brothers, and a 26-year-old working-class American. Her organizing career began as a student organizer, where she was empowered by her peers with the tools and knowledge to become an agent of change. She believes that change will come directly from the people and has dedicated herself to develop the new generation of progressive leaders as the former California and New York student organizing manager for the Bernie 2020 campaign and the president of the United States Student Association.
All right. Hi, everyone. Buenos dias. Good afternoon. Please excuse the chickens in the background. So as mentioned, my name is Jocelyn Rosalia Garcia Alas. I am the daughter of Mexican and Guatemalan immigrants, a sister to two wonderful younger brothers, and I am a 26-year-old working class American. I am so honored to be sharing space with you, with all of you today. And I'm grateful to all of those who made this community possible, specifically Movement LA and Youth Climate Strike LA. So my parents immigrated to the States when they were teenagers, and they fled violence and poverty from their own home countries. And for the past 3 decades, they have lived in Los Angeles and have dedicated themselves to being a housekeeper and a gardener. Fortunately, my family has never lost its home due to a wildfire, a hurricane, or an earthquake. But over the past years, we all know that climate change has erupted, becoming more brutal and with more long-lasting effects. As mentioned, my dad is a gardener, which requires him to be outside daily. Every time there is a wildfire here in California, I call my dad and I ask him out of fear for his safety, do you have to go to work? Unfortunately, he always responds saying yes. In 2016, if you all recall, Hurricane Maria struck Puerto Rico, killing well over 3,000 people and leaving the island in vulnerable conditions. My partner's family is Puerto Rican, and I remember the fear in their voices when they struggled to get a hold of their relatives who lived in Puerto Rico. His family did unfortunately lose their home. And soon after the hurricane, my partner and his mom decided to take supplies and resources to their family in Puerto Rico because our government lacked to do so. Every time there was new information about recent impacts of the hurricane, I would call my partner and ask him out of fear for his safety, do you have to go to Puerto Rico? Unfortunately, he always responded yes. Last week, I turned 26 years old. Now, my parents, they are your traditional overprotective Latino parents who tell their daughters that they cannot get married until they're 40 years old. However, all of a sudden, my parents have been going on and on about wanting grandchildren. They tell me, Jocelyn, nos estamos poniendo viejitos, we're getting old, and we want to help raise the 5 children you've always wanted. Due to the climate crisis, I don't know if I should have children. I don't know what our world will look like, and I honestly fear bringing life to this world, not knowing if my children will have the chance to survive. Every time there is a natural disaster, my mom calls me asking, do you still fear for your future? Unfortunately, I respond saying yes. Now, I ask us today, for how much longer are we going to put our bodies on the lines to support our loved ones because our decision makers have failed to act on climate change? I ask us today, are we honestly okay living, not being able to plan, dream, or invest in our futures because we don't know what the world will look like in 10 years? I hope you didn't respond yes to any of those questions. Now, I started organizing when I was in high school, not knowing that I was actually organizing. And since then, I have worked on various issues, including education justice, immigrant rights, and most recently, as mentioned, I was the California and the New York student organizing manager for the Bernie 2020 campaign. To be real with all of you, the fight for climate justice would give me a lot of anxiety and prevented me from taking on a more active role in this movement. I was anxious because I feared that this fight was too big for me to fight. I feared that there wasn't anything I could actually do to fix the crisis. So instead, I focused on what I thought I could fix. But I showed up today because I am hopeful. Although we live in challenging moments, I am more hopeful than I have ever been because our communities, and specifically young people, are building power across borders. I showed up today because climate justice, as mentioned by other speakers, is intersectional and impacts everything we do. We can't afford to be passive. We have to be brave in every way and in any way that we can. Now, I still have fear, but I have more hope because I know I don't have to do this alone. I know that there is a beautiful movement of communities, students, and young people that are in this fight. I commit to you all that I will continue showing up for our futures. Now, I'm going to call and ask all of you, do you demand that Governor Newsom and Mayor Garcetti stop new fossil fuel projects? Do you demand that Governor Newsom and Mayor Garcetti drop existing fossil fuel production? Do you demand that Governor Newsom and Mayor Garcetti roll out a 2,500-foot health and safety buffer? And will you show up for each other and help win back our futures? I hope you responded saying yes to all of those questions. Thank you all so much for being here today. In whatever capacity that it is that you have showed up, you showed up. And this is exactly how we build power, is by showing up, by holding each other in challenging moments, and by loving each other unapologetically. So much solidarity and love to you all. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you so much, Jocelyn. Next, we have Sarah Mora. Sarah Mora is a DACA recipient who has dedicated her youth to organizing in her community. She is a national immigrant rights activist and digital strategist. Learn more about her work at Miss Sarah Mora on social media.
Hi everyone, my name is Sarah, and similar to Jocelyn Garcia, I started organizing well on in middle school without realizing that it was organizing, because for a lot of migrant youth, organizing becomes a style of life and not an option. At a young age, I understood that I was different from my friends, that my family had come a very long way, and that the place that I was now calling home was not always home to them. I learned English in kindergarten fast because I hated feeling like I was behind, and I had a mean teacher. It was in the little things like my mom's choice of supermarket that I knew we were different from my amigos americanizados, which is Spanish for my Americanized friends. Translating for my mom at the hospital when I was in 3rd grade after her second open heart surgery was a completely normal thing. You see, it was a matter of life or death for me to be available and prepared to help my parents. It isn't a choice to grow up defending your parents when you're an immigrant child. So we grow up fast. I felt proud every time I could fluently communicate to my parents what adults were trying to say to them and vice versa. I felt like I was bringing dignity every time that I could ensure that my parents' needs were heard, or that anything that they were trying to communicate wasn't misunderstood. Immigrant children grow up being the defenders of the honor of their families, many times growing up with leader qualities because of extremely anxiety-filling experiences. I know my parents worried because they feared not being able to help me enough with schoolwork. And shortly after beginning 1st grade, I helped my younger sister with her homework, and then my little brother followed. You see, being the oldest in your household means that you've grown prepared to clear the way for your siblings, wanting to make your immigrant parents' sacrifice worth it. Speaking out about being undocumented meant that my family would be exposed, and at first I felt selfish. I wondered whether or not sharing would do more good than harm, wondering whether it would do my community a disservice to have me speaking out while perhaps many of them would never. An opportunity came to share our personal stories before the New Jersey Senate, and I decided to come forward as undocumented publicly, and then was part of a national lawsuit against the Trump administration for rescinding DACA that won. I decided to speak out, and this action won. When I shared my story, I did it with the courage, strength of all of the people in my community that came before me. Story sharing to me became an act of revolution. No one can take my story, was what I thought. I felt that it was my duty to express that being undocumented was so many things and not just one definition. When talking about my perspective, I always emphasize that no one else would ever be able to tell my story the same, but that just as equally, I would never be able to be a symbol or speak on behalf of all undocumented people. Talking out loud about my legal status was supposed to feel chaotic, but instead I would feel on fire. A fire that stemmed from deep anger for all of the people who might have struggled to express their feelings before a system that constantly looks for them to validate and prove their worthiness. I landed in San Diego last year to particularly work to build an avenue of support that recognizes the existing work and community, including youth that organize and are native of the border. Every meeting I had, I was reminded that immigration is not new and that immigration is a crisis. All of the elder organizers I learned from, they teach with deep passion and wisdom because the system is one they also worked against in their youth. As young people, as leaders in any space, it is crucial to learn how much the immigration system has been creating detrimental, life-changing circumstances for families and individuals for centuries. Be an ally by uplifting the voices of undocumented people and immigrants that do share their story, but by also holding space for those that feel vulnerable and that perhaps don't want to publicly share their undocumented story. We can absolutely change the world. Immigrants who are largely low income are also most likely to have their lives disrupted by extreme weather events and other adverse effects of climate change. Addressing climate change and poverty on a global scale will help stabilize immigration flows from undeveloped countries. Immigrants are disproportionately hurt by the dirty energy economy and face unique environmental challenges. That is why today, with you all, I demand that Governor Newsom and Mayor Garcetti stop new fossil fuel projects, drop existing fossil fuel production, and roll out a 2,500-foot health and safety buffer. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Sarah. Hi, everyone. My name is Chandani. I'm a 16-year-old climate justice organizer with Youth Climate Strike Los Angeles. I wanted to thank you all so much for joining our virtual rally today. 2 months ago, we were planning a rally for Pershing Square in City Hall, but that became unrealistic just a couple weeks later as the world seemed to come to a stop in the face of COVID-19. Climate and social justice organizers have not stopped and cannot stop fighting because these crises are interrelated. Despite its global reputation as a climate leader, California remains one of the largest oil-producing states in the country. Los Angeles is home to the largest urban oil field in the nation, where active oil wells drill near homes, schools, and parks. Therefore, we are joining with CA Youth versus Big Oil, a campaign of youth across California, to demand the following of California Governor Gavin Newsom and Los Angeles Mayor Eric Garcetti. 1, stop licensing new fossil fuel projects. 2, drop existing fossil fuel production. And 3, roll out a 2,500-foot health and safety buffer immediately. I'm going to give you a few links, and these will all be posted in the comment section of the Facebook live stream. There's a petition at bit.ly/joinCAYouth to demand these demands of Governor Newsom. You can also make these demands by calling into our governor's office. For more information, go to bit.ly/MVMTLA calls or text Earth Week to 69866. We also ask that you post on our Lenin Wall, leninwall.la, which was launched just last night, with poems, artwork, photos, and other messages of solidarity to show your support for the climate justice movement. We ask that you make red prayer ties, and you can find more information about that on our YouTube page, which is MVMTLA. Follow us on Instagram and Twitter at movement_LA for updates and more information. Before we end, we have one more artist. Born in Caracas, Venezuela, Carmen de Leon and her family relocated to Miami, Florida, and then to Barcelona, Spain, where she was in her early teens in search of new opportunities. While in Spain, the 19-year-old singer found success on The Voice, drawing a devoted fan base with her infectious energy and unforgettable voice. After broadening her following with a series of successful concerts and online covers, Carmen is now signed to Capitol Records and is ready to release a US debut that reveals her Latin roots while delivering a fresh new sound of her own. Please welcome Carmen.
Hi everyone, my name's Carmen. Thank you for having me, Lex, for letting me put my little grain of sand. So I'm a singer-songwriter. I'm gonna sing a song that I didn't write, but it's called Somewhere Over the Rainbow. This song is about hope, that I feel that bad things are gonna end soon. And yeah, here we go. Somewhere over the rainbow, way up high, there's a land that I heard of once in a lullaby. Someday I'll wish upon a star and wake up where the clouds are far behind me, where trouble melts like lemon drops away above the chimney tops. That's where you find me. Somewhere over the rainbow, skies are blue, and the dreams that you dare to